There I go. What's going on? Happy Thursday. Happy fourth day in a row of stream. We got one more day tomorrow and we should be all caught up. And then it's back to weekly streams or whenever it fills up to six. So if it takes a few weeks to fill to six or a day, we'll take it from there. But for those of you who haven't joined us this week, welcome back to the live streams. Today we got six of you and we're just going to get straight into the show. Dustin, what's going on, Dustin? Thanks for joining us yet again. It's becoming our usual date night. RJ, good evening. Hey, that's me. Oh, perfect. You're on the screen, RJ. I was wondering if you're going to join. You lead off the show. So if you want to skip out after you have been taken care of, no problem. But if you want to stick around for the whole show, you might learn something too. Okay, we got him in the house. Reggie, 35 years old, been playing golf for 25 plus years. I used to play competitive golf in high school and club golf in college. I mainly play the game for enjoyment, but I'm committed to improving my game to become a scratch golfer in the coming years. He's currently an 8 handicap. Have not had many lessons throughout the years of playing golf, but I feel like I'm not striking the ball as well as I used to. I'm in a phase of heel strikes, two-way misses, and loss of distance due to some swing characteristic. My tendencies to hit a heel or low on the face. Okay. Do you find you take a lot of thin shots, hard to take divots? If you can let me know, RJ. Love to get my thoughts on what I can improve on, bound the risk and rewards of any major swing change, and by taking my existing swing tendencies and making them meaningful adjustments. And no major injuries, but he did take a TPI assessment, scored red in the lower body. So that might explain some of these positions that we might look at today. But we'll just go into it in detail. So RJ, if you just let me know if you hit them thin or let's see. No, I normally take decent divots. Okay, perfect. RJ, too, I know you said you haven't taken many lessons. Have you taken any lessons? And if so, has it been any recent lessons or are you just kind of tinkering around and just trying to get back to the game? And 8 handicap, do you know what is causing you to drop strokes? Is it in-swing principles that's giving you these misses that you're all over the place? Or is it short game? Is it mental mistakes? I try to narrow mistakes down to physical and mental. Like it's a good swing, but it was just a bad choice. So if you let me know that too, because dropping from an 8 to a scratch, it's not easy. Specifically, if you have a good ingrained swing, to try and change some of these in-swing principles might be a little challenging. You got a good swing though. A little bit of early release. You kind of lose a little bit of it there. I see the lower body issue specifically here. It looks like you're favoring it a lot with the upper body rotation. You do a good job of rotating. You get a lot of rotation. You can see this lean going off on your face on. So you can see that you're favoring some lower body issues. Just tinkering around. Last lesson was years ago. Okay. What are you tinkering around on now? Like, what are you trying to focus on? I see the mat there, maybe to get some ball striking, some conservation of momentum, carrying it over a little bit more efficiently. I like the alignment rod, so good job. I don't see this enough. So all of you watching at home, make sure you put some alignment rods down there to give you something to hit. And I'm sure he's probably hitting a target out over here. And it's also a good idea to switch it up. Don't just hit all your range balls here. Aim over there, like move the alignment rod this way, move the alignment rod to here. Get used to changing your targets all the time. And then if you can, I know it's easier said than done, play purposeful fades and draws and try and move the ball around. Golf doesn't play straight. I mean, it's very rare we hit straight shots. So get creative out there too is what I'm trying to tell you. All right, while he's answering that question, let's draw some Barney Purple lines going on here. Barney Purple is live. And it looks like a very solid setup in terms of balance point. We're going to do all Barney Purple because Barney, he's been kind of left alone for a little bit. And we might change some stuff, but you're the official all Barney Purple. All right, we're going to do one green line right there. Okay, so we're going to put a red line in between those two. That's basically where your center point would like to be based on that setup. Now, in relation to your ball position, let's take a look at how far back that is. I'm pretty sure that's a straight line. So ball position is just outside of your right side of your head. So to me, that might be a little too far back, which could cause some throwing if you sequence correctly. And we do see a little bit of throwing down at impact for you. But let's just take a look. Take the club back. All right. So we see arms are pulling in as we're losing shoulder tilt. So we see the shoulder tilt's already raising up, and you've learned to keep your arms lower to get them closer to that plane line. But at the same time, the club face is going to fall well below that plane line. And then, probably as a result, your head might start to shift forward, and it does. So there's that fighting to keep things weighted. So now, all of a sudden, you might have gone from a pretty neutral setup with your weighting. And then as you get to the top, it might be toe biased at this point because we see that subtle shift. Your shoulders, you can see the shoulder tilting has come up, but you've learned to also move your hands down as a result to counteract that. Now we might be some trouble because we have a pretty low top position. Club is deep enough, which is a positive, but do we keep it above that plane? The goal is to keep it above this lower plane line because the moment it falls below, that's challenging to become a scratch golfer with the club head below that line, because that's going to be very handsy. And unless you're extremely gifted, it's going to be, giving you a roadblock. You're going to just be missing it enough to keep you above scratch. So let's take a look at this motion. Okay, you're on plane there. Looks good. Club head is on plane. Club head is on plane. Club is on plane. Okay, good. So you do a good job of compensating. We see the club head still comes out fairly low, so it's kind of working around its low position. So that's pretty good. I would say you might get trapped every now and then just because the arms do come from a pretty, I hate this word again, pretty shallow motion. You can see that right elbow gets kind of tucked into your side pretty soon. Which will then require you to really rotate your lower body. And since you said you don't have a lot of lower body activity from your TPI testing, I could possibly see some misses coming around here with those hands working out in front. So we can maybe see on the right side of the screen some of this action here. And we know it's pretty tight. Like here, your right elbow is pretty tight to the body because you can see that club head going almost through your head. And then that's Hogan-esque, the right elbow in. But Hogan did such a great job of rotating. He's just really rotating through to help that position. So he hits it with the right side, where we get a little trapped here. So see that right elbow? Let's zoom in. Where's my zoom in tool? So that right elbow is touching your body, right? So unless you rotate, that's going to create some issues. So we might see a little bit of a throw, and we'd see that right hand throwing. That throw as well is also, you do a good job of compensating. So there's your red line. It's your center point has caught up between your forward press. But remember that ball position was a little bit too far back to start with. And now, look how far back it is becoming as you strike that golf ball. So if it's far enough back, you are going to have to throw those hands to kind of catch up to that golf ball. So where's that golf ball here? I lost the golf ball. There it is. And we draw that up. So we've shifted our weighting. So look at that in relation to your body. While your shoulders are tilting, that's where your hands would like to at least carry some of this angle down. But yeah, you can see the hands have to go soon. And then you strike it. And now things are kind of matching up where they should be. You can see there's the matchup. And then the release is already on your right shoulder. So you do see a lot of this to save you. I think that's ball position. I don't mind the shallowness, but I think you might want to steepen it out if you have lower body issues, because on your TPI testing. Let me see. Do I have Tiger's 2000 swing? I'll play this. Give me a sec. Let me check who's in here real quick. Most of my issues are iron related. Right now I'm trying to focus on the hands out in front of the body. Yep. I see the same thing. Go Packers beat Commanders. Commanders? Is that some rebranded team name? Redskins, I assume? Yep, I get trapped a lot. Okay, yeah. So we're kind of seeing the same things. Let me see. Give me a sec here. I'm going to look for Tiger's 2000 swing, because I think that's going to be kind of what you want to go for in terms of positions. And obviously, we're not expecting you to be like Tiger 2000. Here it is. All right, let me pull it over. All right, let's put it up here. Okay. So, oh, look at that. They're almost synced up together. So you take a look at this setup. I mean, we can see the setup's a little bit different than yours, but you kind of have the same principles. So we have the shoulder tilting. You can see there's your shoulder tilting. It's fairly close. We see the centerness of that tilting, and you see your hands are back, right? And we take a look at centerness of Tiger's tilting. His hands are almost on there. But if you take a look at his weighting, the way he's set up, look at how his center point is just at that golf ball. Your center point is just ahead of the golf ball. But then the lower body, notice how most of your left leg is almost touching your center point, where most of his right leg is almost touching center point. It's almost like he's gearing up his weighting difference. So his tilting, his hip tilt is almost up, where your hip tilt is level. So if you have a hip tilt that's slightly up, your spine is also going to match where his shoulders would like to be at impact, where yours will be a little bit off. Now you take a look at the way they go back. Look at how wide Tiger is. Now Tiger doesn't pull his arms back like you, but I'm thinking you're going for the same look. In other words, the shorter arm position, because there's Tiger's top position, there's your top position. It's pretty close in terms of the depth, like in how your arms are staying connected. But you can see the spacing between the head and you don't have spacing. This is the arms are out in front of the chest more. So there's a wider turn. It's steeper. Things are going to be more struck down. And he's made his living off of this. But if you take a look at impact, I don't know if we'll catch you guys the same way at impact. But right there, look at Tiger's impact. So the hands now can catch up to that tilt, which is what we're going for, right? And carry that forward press over perfectly. Where your hands don't necessarily catch up to the tilt at impact, right? Let's go back up one frame. This is just after impact, and your hands are still behind the tilt. So you can see how that forward press is throwing things out of whack a little bit. So I guess this is visually kind of makes more sense, hopefully. Now, in terms of what you can do at home or on the range, that's where it might be a little bit of a challenge, just because you have done this for so long. But you would probably need to look at first that ball position, that setup. So everything's favoring each other a little bit more. Maybe bump these hips slightly over, so it'll help your spine. So it alleviates some pressure. I can't get my lines today. So bump this hip just ever so slight. Maybe move the ball position up one ball to kind of neutralize things out a little bit better. And then on your way back, you can see here, let's zoom in on the left side. Okay. On the way back, and I'm sure if you look at Tiger on the way, I don't know if he's down the line from 2000, but take that club back. You got the skippy frames today. Right there. So I'm sure if you watch Tiger, you'll notice that left shoulder dips down more, which will bring those hands more on that line, and this club head will be above that line. So you want to match them up. So you're looking for that tight little circle. Now I'm saying this for you as an 8 handicap who wants to get down to scratch. You need to tidy things up because you have the core motion in there. A lot of this is setup based. So you want to look at that. Now this might solve itself out once you get that setup adjusted. You might all of a sudden do this because your body positioning, your hip tilt might allow this to happen naturally. But then at the top of your swing, you want to look at the shoulder tilt. You want to make sure it is perpendicular to your initial setup. Now, if you're having trouble doing this, that's not perpendicular. That's close for perpendicular. So you can see how much the left shoulders come up, right shoulder's going down. Now, if you do this normally, if you get that left shoulder to tilt normally, the hands will come up naturally because they're just following the tilt of your shoulders. So this could kind of link many things for you together, and then you won't be as like shallow on the way down where your hands are higher than the club head on the way down because you have to kind of push them out of the way or else they'll be below over here. So I just think there's a lot of this has to do with setup. A lot of this has to do like with sequencing from the setup, but hopefully that does make sense to you if it does at all. But let's go over some things here. Joey, was Tiger doing Porzak hip bump at setup? Man, that Porzak hip bump. If you've seen my video on Porzak, just go watch the video on Porzak. I don't think there is such a thing as a Porzak hip bump. I think it's just good players find a way. Many good players don't do the Porzak hip bump, so who knows? I don't think he was. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I'm not sure what that's. Did I ask a question and I forgot the question already? All right. Who was that? That was Reggie. Reggie, hope that helps. Let me know in the comments if you need more explanation. But let's see who is next. See ya. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Joey. Yes. See, I already forgot the question I asked. That's just the kind of day I'm still struggling from my blown back from the watermelon yesterday. I turned around in bed yesterday and I screamed. My wife thought there was a murder. I said, no, it's that damn watermelon. Threw my back out. Um, Thanks for watching the video, by the way. Appreciate it. Let's see who's next. We got Peter. Peter's next. One. That's not Peter. If that's Peter, we got some issues. Let's get that out there. Yes. Sorry, Tiger. There's 1 and 2. Okay. Here's Peter. All right. We got to do it the old way. 1 and 2. Yes. I want to open it. 1 and 2. Here we go. Peter. And Peter sent 2 down the lines. All right. So we're just going to use 1 down the line, Peter. Delete that one. Let's go to single mode. And let's see what he has to say. Hello? There it is. Okay. Technical difficulties here at the LGA. Remember, I'm just a golf pro. We're lucky this thing's even working. Previously, you took a look at my driver swing and didn't give me any homework, as you said you can't teach much to someone who has a unique, ingrained feel. So I decided I would give myself some homework and work towards a more standard type backswing and setup. Okay. I have yet to decide whether I want to get rid of the overswing. Maybe I will keep that just to ensure my swing remains mine in some sense. Let me know what you think of the change. I've included the 6-iron. Oh, 6-iron and pitcher wedge. That's why it's 2 down the lines. Okay, so we're just going to look at this down the line. Okay, yeah, I do see it's more of a quote-unquote traditional, a little taller. I'd say the weight is more in the heels. Yeah, it's going to be tough to keep that tilting. Definitely overswinging, drops it in. Club is in that danger zone down over here. This is that danger zone I keep talking about, is over here. Do all you can to get that club up here, even if it's over the top. It's much easier to hit more routine fades with a slightly over the top than it is to control a club face that is dangling over here. That's a lot of wrists to try and save that swing. See, there's a lot of tilting going on here. I don't know how this swing would last. Let's take a look. Let's back it up to where he just struck it. Right about there. Okay, that's a lot of tilt. Let's take a look at the tilting first. Man, 70 degrees. Go to the top. Where do we get it? Right about there. Yeah, that's 40 degrees of tilting. That's going to be a tough thing to keep up, specifically as you get a little bit older. I would say you would probably need to shy away from a golf swing that has to include 40 degrees of tilting, because that's going to put a lot of pressure on your back, on your knees, lower back especially, and eventually something will give way. Now I know that this is an overswing. It's much steeper, which is kind of what he might be going for, but that overswing will also cause that club to fall down in no man's land. Now let's see how close it is to the path or his plane work, because we have to take things in relative. So let's get rid of these. Let's pull up a regular line here and lower plane. Let's take a look. Does he get below that on the way down? Man, that's a long swing. Yeah, it's working its way below. That's going to be challenging. A lot of risk involved there. I would say if you want to try and reduce some of this tilting, oh man, you you put it this way, you can reduce the tilting if you take all that excess motion back your feet up slightly so they're supporting the hips a little bit more. You have to tilt a lot because there's not a lot of room at impact because you're so close to the golf ball. So you might have to back away. When you back away, it's possible that your hands could come a little higher, which will also get your plane line slightly higher, and then you can build your setup around that plane line. But you want to make sure your setup doesn't require a lot of tilting. Now, this setup looks pretty good, except it's heel based, and there's not a lot of real estate down here once you make that motion, which is why you kind of push up to get out the way, but then you have to increase your tilting to make sure you reach down to that golf ball while your hands fire. It's just a little bit worrisome for me to look at that swing and say, this is something that I would recommend moving into the future because we don't get younger as the days go by. We just get older. But I do see the changes. I think that they're good changes for what you want to accomplish now. I just think looking down the future, protect yourself. Just be wary of your body. If you start seeing your body or feel your body kind of get some twinges in your back, pull the feet back, change your angles a little bit so you don't have to get so much tilting out of impact. But then also that backswing, hey, if it works, it works. If you can time it, that's great. But it comes down to your misses, comes down to what you want to do with your game. If you want to be a scratch player with this swing, it might be more challenging than being a scratch player with a little shorter motion. So you can time that a little bit easier and don't rely on the hands and the arms at impact. So I hope that helped you out, make your decision. But either way, thanks for sending it. And that was, who was that? That was Peter. Mark, are you in the house, Mark? If not, no worries. How and where to send the swings to? Good night, and never mind, find the link. You got it, Mike. Yeah, links down below. Let's see. Download. Open this. We got one video coming in. And there it is. Okay, good. Oh, perfect. Double screen. Oh, we've got some numbers to kind of look at too, which is nice. Okay. Mark, 41 years old, picked up the game almost 20 years ago, tried too many club pros throughout the years. Tight hamstrings, but no ROM issues. Range of motion issues, no body limitations or major injuries. Approach play seems to be keeping me from my goals of getting to scratch. Mid-trajectory ball flight that favors a fade, but I can produce a draw if needed. Misses on course tend to be short. Ground contact or right face path. Thanks for what you do. You're welcome. Let's see. First time viewing the stream. I submitted the job form August 14th. How do I know which stream I'll be on? Okay. So typically we do these streams once a week when we get up to 6 people so I can run a show. However, for the past 2 to 3 months, I've been incredibly busy at the academy, so I had to put these on hold. So right now, we're working through 35 people. I've done a stream on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, today, and tomorrow. We'll be through all those 35 people. So if you submitted one back then, you might be on today's stream, might be on tomorrow's stream, or possibly yesterday's stream. So this week, I just banged out 35 of them. So I can't tell you exactly when, but right now, I'm on the date. I'll tell you the date I'm on. We are on submissions on August 24th. So if you submitted it on August 14th, you're probably on either yesterday's stream or the day before. So you can go watch one of those. But in the future, once you submit it, it's probably going to be about a week or even less if we get 6 really quickly. So hope that helps you. Okay, so we have a gentleman who wants to go to scratch. Let's take a look at the numbers if we can see. 5 down, 0816, swing direction, -2-3. Okay. It's a good swing. All right, let's take a look at this in slow-mo. Okay, just a little bit of that same sort of thing we're seeing. Yep, disconnecting right away. A little bit of the rolling. Hands get pretty high. We do our best to drop it down. Hands are higher. Yeah. All right. So this is the same sort of thing. I mean, if you want to go to a scratch, scratch players, they don't necessarily have to hit the ball far. Remember, the scratch average driver for anybody in their 20s and 30s, it's like 260. You don't have to pound the golf ball. It's about keeping the misses tight, having moves where there's not a lot of things going wrong. So when you miss it, you don't miss it all over the place. It's definitely playing to your strengths, avoiding your weaknesses, keeping statistics, working on your short game religiously, more so than your full swing. Most of the guys and girls on tour, they might work on their swing. I give it maybe, unless they love hitting golf balls or unless they have a more timing dependent motion, most of them are working with a coach for very little. And they spend a majority of the time chipping and putting. When I was at Riviera and I'd watch the guys come down there for the week, I saw 10 years of the tour coming through there. And that short game area was packed. Just putting and chipping, that's all they did. The range was, sporadic. It wasn't as busy as you think. Even the warm-up sessions before they go play golf, they're out there putting and chipping. They hit very few golf balls, maybe to warm up their body. Obviously, they have a more repeatable motion than most of us, but short game, if you want to get to scratch, you've got to have a bang-on short game. That's all I got to tell you. So don't fall in love with the swing changes. This swing looks fine. It looks repeatable. I don't see many things going wrong with it other than your hands get a little bit higher than your club head down right before you strike it because it is a little taller plane line. I'm looking at your overall tilting, your overall balance points. You do a good job of keeping your turn tilt relationship here. It's very nice. I'd say maybe you might want to, shorten this little motion here because of that lean left. We start to lean. Look at the face on. So we have a pretty good position here. We see that angle is slightly up, which is fine. And then we get going, get that little bit of compensation. We start leaning into the target, which is okay too, but it's more of a lean and rotate, which now your hands are behind the game and the ball position has again shifted, probably going to be on your inside your right shoulder as you strike it. So it's a little bit too far back again. So now your hands will have to engage a little sooner, and we see them kind of just firing through a little too much. Now, I'm not saying you can't be a scratch golfer here. It really depends on your ability to replicate this over and over again. So that's why this is not really a question I can answer just because I don't know your total game if you want to get to a scratch golfer. So if you're interested, Mark, I have a statistics sheet that I give out to my students if they want to get to certain goals. Fill it out, keep stats for 10 rounds. It'll point out your weaknesses, your strengths, why you are not a scratch golfer, what's holding you back. It'll point out your misses too. If we see that you have a pretty big one-sided miss, hey, you can actually play that. But if your big misses are both sides, okay, we've got some club face path issues that impact, and we have to just kind of look at your golf swing and see what is the closest thing we can get. Maybe it is just keeping that club steeper all the time and you just play a fade, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as you can do it over and over again. Other than that, I think your balance is pretty good. You don't really lose balance. Your range of motion looks really good. Your setup, I think, is a little bit flawed, which is causing your in-swing principles. But for these couple swings, you're getting away with it. So it's a hard one to answer. But I hope that does help you somehow. Okay, Mark. Thanks for the submission, by the way. I love that 2 camera angles in the same with the numbers. Spoiling me. Okay, Michael. Michael, are you on? Download. 1 and 2. Got him. Bada bing. What's up, Doc? I'm still waiting, Doc. Still waiting. I haven't seen anything coming down from you. All right, let's get the double. 1, 2. Let's hit play. And let's check the notes. Michael, I played golf growing up from the ages of 12 to 18 and took a 20-year retirement. Sounds like me right now. I came back to golf about 3 years ago. I've taken lessons over the last 4 months, but haven't really seen too much improvement. My big struggle is that I'm not sure what my swing is or should be. It feels different swing to swing sometimes. I'm pretty consistent with 9-iron and below. My misses with these clubs tend to be ball flight that is too high. I struggle with my 5 iron and often have a slice with it, but I'm able to carry my 3 hybrid pretty well. My driver is borderline unplayable depending on the day. I have a huge banana slice that I am often fighting by manipulating the club head with my hands to square the face. I also struggle with an over the top swing, an arm dominant swing, and with my hip rotation stalling as my arms take over. All right, let's see. It's not the swing I imagined after reading that. We sure this is the right guy? After that, I expected to see something completely different. All right. That same sort of thing. Yep. Okay. Well, we can see that one. This one doesn't quite capture the club at the top, but we'll try and make it work. Yeah, it's coming in really shallow. So if you're hitting banana balls with that, I mean, your club face must be wide open at impact because it has to be right of the path. So let's say your path is 5 right. Your club face has to be open more than 5. So that's interesting. I would imagine your ball position as well is probably playing too far back with your driver. Because look at this, right before you strike it, look how much your center point is moved out ahead of the golf ball. Again, what's with these lines? And then that's going to require your hands to make really, get involved a lot. And I don't see much rotation from this face on. So without rotation, you don't, you can get away with this if you tilt more without rotation, but then your tilting will increase, pushing your hands to want to escape further out away from you. And that's just way too much forward press. So I would imagine that, ball position sliding over too much to the left side can cause this too. How is your position from the top to impact? Yeah, we don't necessarily slide. It's more of it's a pretty good sequence. So you see the lower body goes, everybody stays back of that. You're not really sliding. Definitely ball position too far back, and you're definitely coming too far from the inside, which is why you probably put the ball position back. Because if you come from the inside and the ball position's not in the back, you're going to hit the ground. So you can kind of see where they play off of each other. Oh, I can't draw that line there. We got midlines. So yeah, see that club works all the way down. That's gonna, it's gonna flatten out your shoulder tilt. Doesn't do it too much though. You do a pretty good job, but then you're just way too inside. All right, so I would just, if you want to work on this, you got to zero that out down at impact somehow, not get the body so involved. Trust the ball position change. So move the ball. I can't draw a little circle down there, so hopefully you can see my mouse right about here. Move the golf position 1.5 balls up, and then it's going to feel like you're not forward pressing. You are. Forward presses happen naturally if you sequence correctly. Forward presses occur naturally just by the sequence. So trust that sequence. You do a great job sequencing. Second thing I want you to look at is as you take that club back, you want to make sure this club head is just staying, here or even above for a change. And that's going to get your arms to be up here because you do a good job of your shoulders, but your hands for some reason are rolling open right away. Try not to roll them open. And that would probably explain when you roll them open, that club face is probably wide open at the top of your swing, which will then cause you to close them somehow. And since you don't rotate to close it or assist that closure, that's leaving a lot of responsibility in your hands from a shallow angle. I can see why you would possibly leave them open with a ball position that's too far back. So all these things kind of just play a part. Now, ball position too far back, if you sequence correctly, you can actually draw the ball as long as the club face is a little bit more neutralized. So I would work on those couple things, get those hands a little bit higher, move the ball position up, trust your sequencing. It's going to be a little steeper. That's okay. You want steeper with an iron. You don't want to hit these shallow shots. So hope that helps you, Michael. If you need help in the comments later, if you do watch this, let me know. All right, next up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mike. We went from Michael to Mike. Let's delete Michael and let's bring in Mike. Mike 2.0. Download. And download. All right, Mike. I would have some music going on back here to keep the dead time more interesting, but then I'd probably get copyright struck. All right, zoom on in. This looks, again, something about these videos says England. Let's watch it. Let's bring up his notes. All right, golfing for 20 years. Will occasionally get handicapped down to 8 for a few months, and then long periods of misery where it hover around 16. I've had hundreds of lessons, both online and in person. That's a lot of lessons. Trying to fix this cast scoop, standing up, nightmare of a swing. Currently trying to use Sakudo, stack and tilt. Stay on the left side because I sway a lot. I've done just about all the drills you can think of, and I've been given by pros and only seems to get worse. It sounds like you're being pulled in all different directions. When I get my handicap down, it's just because I have the flip timed well. Okay, my power, as you can imagine, it's lacking. Average drive is about 210 to 220. 7 irons about 140, 145. Misses are all over the place, from big ass high weak slices to snap hooks that get 2 feet off the ground. You never really know. All right, it sounds like a nightmare. Stick with and grind and grind and grind, doing hundreds and hundreds of reps with drills I've been given. Okay. Yeah, I see the stack and tilt influence here already. Is it raining in your video? Man, that's some. Oh, man, I miss rain. I think it rains like once every 9 years in the desert here. All right, let's take a look at this. Okay. Yeah. Hmm. Okay, well, you get the stack part, but I don't think you got the tilt part. And unfortunately, in stack and tilt, you need both. Yeah. It looks like the club face is, how's it doing on the way back? Okay, it's doing all right there. All right. So it looks like it's like it says in your notes. It's just a hybrid, a bunch of swing theories and a bunch of people that have tried to help you out and have sent you on this rabbit hole. And your body's so confused, it's just trying to make whatever it works work. Down to the impact, you can see right there. Look at that ball position. I mean, your hands have to go at that point. I don't know who gave you lessons to not see this. It's like, why would they not see your hands need to go, because that ball position's so far back at this point in your swing? If they had you changing any sort of, if they had you holding your wrists longer, man, you got to file some sort of claim against them, because that's just ridiculous if they didn't see that. And it all stems down to your setup. I mean, look how far that golf ball is to your setup. So, this is an okay setup for what you're trying to do, but it would only work if the swing would be about this long and tilting down. So you need that left shoulder to tilt more down. And then your hands will be more out in front, so it'll be steeper because you actually get the club shallow. Look how shallow this club is already. So you're rolling the hands open, you're pulling it inside. This could possibly work here if it just stops there. But even back there, look at this position here. So, there's your center point, way ahead of the golf ball. This would work pretty decent if you put the ball over here, because you do a good job of staying there. Just get a little bit more tilt and not so long with the arms. Now, when you engage the tilt, it's going to keep you in more of your posture. So that might help you shorten it out. Sequencing's looking okay. Maybe just a little bit more hip bump and not so much left lean with the top. So you're getting like this. You're really de-lofting things. You're taking that static loft, and even if you just keep everything neutral here, you're going to take that pitching wedge, turn it to an 8-iron, plus that ball positions move back. It's going to really de-loft. You're going to hit straight into the ground and break your wrist. So you have to go. I would say, if you've been taking and following Segudo, keep doing that. That's fine. But just move that ball position so it's not like stuck back over here, that it's more in the center. Move it maybe even more out here. But then also just get that tilt engaged earlier, shorten the backswing with your arms, and then just sequence correctly. Don't lean. Don't get so much lean this way. Just sequence with your hips. Let the shoulders tilt under as your sequence. The tilting under is moving your arms more out in front. So if you get that right shoulder to tilt more under, this is exaggerated. Your arms are going to want to naturally move further out in front. If they're not tilting as much, they're only going to be there. So the more you can tilt, I mean, let's delete this. This is really exaggerated. Let's say you can tilt like this at impact. It's not going to happen. But look at the club there. So the more you tilt, the more it pushes the hands up and away from you. But in order to compensate that, your upper body would need to be like this. So basically, the way you are at impact, your tilting would have to, like, that's where you are at impact. With this body, your tilting would need to be a lot more to make this work. But then you run into the room of being way ahead of that golf ball. That's never going to work. So stack and tilt is very unusual because it really comes down to ball position, and it's very easy to over exaggerate things. It doesn't take much to over exaggerate stack and tilt because you're utilizing a lot more of the tilting and rotation of the body, and it's tough. I think just do things naturally. But if you want to go with the stack and tilt, make those changes, and hope that helps you. Stack and tilt 10 words is weight forward, shoulder down, hands in, tuck hips, arms straight. So your right shoulder would need to be more down. Yes. Hey, Tony, just popping in for a like and say, hey, thank you so much, Rowdy. Appreciate you popping in. Hope all is well with you. All right. Mike, hope that helps you. Let me know if you ever watch this, if you need more clarification. Okay. See ya. Perfect. We're right on time. Let's go back here. And we have, that was Mike, right? No, that was Michael Prisco. Let me just make sure I got the right Mike. No, that was Mike. Did I do Michael already? I think I skipped Mike. Oh, no, it's the same guy. He did 2 submissions. Okay, perfect. That's even better for us. I don't know how that happened. Are we sure? It's the same guy? Yeah, same email address. Has a different last name. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Mike, one of the mics, if you sent me it and you didn't get it, just let me know. It's saying it's the same email, so I'm not sure. So Jim's up, and Jim will be the last, and then we only have tomorrow's stream to be caught up with, so that's beautiful. Thanks for sticking around all week if you have done so. There's 1, there's 2, and bam, and bam. There's 1, lefty, and 2. Let's hit play. Nice smooth video. Let's zoom in on this so we can get nice and close and personal without getting a restraining order. All right, let's take a look here. Jim, I'm 68 years old, been playing golf for a very long time. I had more of an upright swing and dropped it on plane. Now I'm trying to not let my elbow collapse in the backswing. My biggest issue is thin shots and pulls. What is your thoughts on setup and ball position and anything you can suggest for better ball striking? Okay, so there's no notes about I did a Mike and a Michael. Okay, good. Thank you, Dustin, for clearing that up. I get lost with all these screens. So good. I didn't skip anybody. So no mention about his body's rotation, issues with that. So we're just going to assume everything's all right and take it from there. So he was steep, and he went for more on plane. Let's see those changes of how he went more on plane. If he did it just with his arms and hands, or if he naturally changed everything to go along with that. Okay. Okay, pretty good. Pretty good change, actually. So typically I see when people go from steep to shallow, hate that word, but they only do it with their arms and their hand manipulation. They don't make sure they tilt and turn correctly. So we do see him increase his shoulder turn, which is fine because that gets his hands to stay on that lower plane line right away, which is good. So he does a really good job here. Top position is a slight little reroute, and this might be the old system, like the old neurological system fighting, because now it gets to slightly above his secondary plane line. So we might see some old hands creeping in versus a new takeaway. But the new takeaway, I would imagine, probably promoted more turn and more tilt relationships. So those are pretty good changes. We are a little bit stacked on his lead side. Let's take a look how he uses this. Drops in the slot. It's ever so slightly steep. It's not too bad here. We do compensate by kind of shaft humping a little bit, so our weighting gets pushed to our toes, which will then cause us to stand up slightly, and that standing up slightly allows the clubs to shallow. So this is a good compensation if that indeed is something he does all the time. Release point, we do see how much turn do we have. Let's clear up all these lines. Release looks pretty good. Ball position is working. We see a lot of shoulder tilt here, puts those hands out in front. So are we carrying down some natural forward press? Yeah, say we are. It's maybe just a tiny bit of throwing, but it's pretty good. I'd say, oh no, that's a pretty good motion. I mean, there's definitely some compensations, but they look like they're working pretty good. Maybe the setup isn't quite promoting a lot of turn down and impact just because you shaft hump into it slightly, which reduces the rotation. Now, I don't know if that is something that you struggle with. Without notes, it's hard to tell if you lack the ability to turn more. If this was a younger person, let's say in their 20s, I would suggest changing the posture a little bit to allow them to turn more so they don't have to shaft hump, which will also mean the arms at the top don't have to get that rerouting going on. But for what it is, I think this is a good move. I would challenge you to maybe turn more if that's possible with your body. And if you can't turn more, you can always cheat the system like I do. Just close things up at the start of your swing, but make sure you do it with changing the ball position. Overall, I'm going to give this swing an A+ for what it is. But there's no questions on anything that he has issues with. I think what you've been working on is great. Your ball position matches your tilt down and impact, so good job. You are carrying over natural forward press, so there's no need to, throw your hands down at it. You're utilizing your body correctly. Some good balance. You don't lose your posture much in the golf swing. I like the change that you made to go flat. I'd say I'd question that rise to the secondary plane line, but you might need it because you can't rotate down an impact, so you need a clearer path down to the golf ball. But other than that, I think it's a good job. But if you need more clarification, let me know in the comments. All right. So good news. Let me delete these now real quick and give the final head count. It was looking pretty daunting there for a little bit for me to catch up on these 35, 36 of them. And now I can safely say we're down to 5 people. 5 people. And I'm going to be streamed out by the end of this week. I don't think I want to touch a stream for a while. So once we get through tomorrow, we're just going to go whenever there's another 6. Let's see this. Oh, we got a little score here. I like that swing for a little gents. Yes, I do too. I think it's a great swing, Bloody. Packer 7, Commander 0. Steven, are you like a bookie? You always give me some updates here. Tony, I've heard you so many times saying how you hate the word shallow, but somehow I don't know why it is. I just don't like that term. Partly because every video you see is trying to teach people how to become shallow. And it's become the new buzzword. It's basically just flat. It's called flat. And that's what people do. They take an old term, put a new term on it, and say this is like this new move that they're trying to teach everybody to do. Shallowing is not good for most people. We just don't have the body mechanics to reward a shallowing position. I would much prefer average golfers to use a steeper motion because it fits their average build. People that work for a living, people that have families for a living. So anytime I hear shallow, I start to shudder. So hope that makes sense, Joey. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow for the final stream of the week. Thank you so much for the support. And don't forget, we're giving away 10 of these coming up soon, some rangefinders. And no, it's not sponsored. I talked them out of sponsorship. They wanted to send me a check to do a little review. I said, look, I don't take checks. I'll give you an honest review, tell you the good and bad of this unit. Just give me 10 to give to you guys so you can tell me how good and bad it is. And that's coming out this week. So as soon as we're done tomorrow, I'll probably get that video out over the weekend or Monday. But other than that, thanks for the support again. Fairways and greens.